is Ruben's fun project. For some reason, he's digging up his yard in the middle of winter with a backhoe. And yeah, that's what he's doing. Look at that boy. He grew up what men do for projects.
Hey guys, so wanted to let you know what I'm working on today, or what I was working on. I was turning this box into an insulated doghouse. Anyway, I used the hose for like 15 or 20 minutes rinsing that container out. And I left the hose on and the water on because I wasn't sure if I was done yet. And then I went and worked on building this sled out of some sheet metal from a furnace. And when I was finished making that, I came back over here and was gonna turn on the water. Actually, I was gonna turn off the water, and then I found that it had frozen. But it was above freezing the whole time that I was working on this. In fact, I think it's still like 33 degrees outside. It was a nice warm day. What I did not take into account was the fact that this ground is frozen completely hard. So, since the ground is frozen completely hard, the well water that was sitting in that pipe got cold enough that it froze, even though it was above freezing outside. So I'm using a hammer and chisel, trying to chisel down the dirt, and I need to get this thawed so it doesn't split and wreck the hydrant. And also, since we're on well water, if this does end up breaking, we're gonna have to shut off our water until we can dig it up and repair it, whether that be sometime this winter, I mean it's January right now, or if it would have to be in the spring. So hopefully I can heat this enough to get heat down in there and get that water melted, but it's not looking super great. So the theory is it's heating the water, which is going down into the ground and melting it. You can see we've been using the screwdriver to dig away the dirt. Oh, it seems like it's getting close. Or maybe it's just boiling in the pipe, I don't know. Whew. Water's warm coming out. So here's the updated situation. We're just heating it slowly. You can hear the water's boiling. Well, it's almost 10 o'clock. And I started doing this at about 5, I think. Yeah, basically, it's still frozen. All this time of heating has really only gotten me about a foot into the ground. That's about how much frost I've done. 1 foot. Heating mostly on the pipe, but also digging out, the soil to try to get deeper. So it's not looking super good. So I left it alone, hoping that it would be fine. It's like a week and a day later, I think, in the evening. And noticed that the water pressure in the house was low, and I was like, yes, it melted. I'm really happy to see that it melted. So we came out here to look at it, because it melted. Yeah, not good. So you can see the ground slushy when we came out here. I uncovered the insulation and stuff that I had put around it to try to protect it from freezing further. And as you can see, we've got water gushing up from the ground. I'm not sure how thawed or not thawed the ground is right now, but it would seem that it's still pretty frozen, except for that tunnel of water that's coming up. Water does this weird thing where it like tunnels. See, look, we've got water coming up over here too. So anyway, moral of the story is, don't do what I did. Well, that's one way to get worms in January. Got the heater plugged in and the battery charger on there, so we're gonna go install a furnace. And then when we're done with that, hopefully we can get the frost tooth out and get that hydrant dug out. Old Faithful started up. Sure no one's coming. But yeah, we're headed over. So we're working on getting the frost tooth installed on the backhoe. That's the frost tooth right there. So I began chiseling away. This is maybe like 5 minutes in. It's hard. It's Very frozen, very hard ground.
This is Ruben's fun project. For some reason, he's digging up his yard in the middle of winter with a backhoe. And yeah, that's what he's doing. Look at that boy. He grew up. What a man. That's what men do for projects.
So we ended up just digging away, and I kept catching the backhoe on the handle of the thing, which ended up snapping the cast. So I just took it off and got it out of the way as much as I could, and then continued scratching away. It was just really slow going. Basically, the frost tooth has enough pressure that it shears off little chunks of dirt, and it's slow going, but at least it's possible to get through, so that when you have a situation like this, you're able to get through the dirt. You can also see that the backhoe was scooting forward and backward a lot because the ground is frozen hard. There's not very much grip when you sink the bucket down and drop the feet down, so it just slides back and forth on the top of the ice. My backhoe skills were a little rusty, so I ended up breaking that off. See, they've got like a, I don't know, 5/8 or 3/8 5/8 tube in the middle, and then that outside diameter. I can't really see if there's any ice down there. See, our ground level was about here, and right down there it looks like that's as deep as the frost is, so about 2.5 feet of frost maybe. But it's really hard, like it's super hard to chisel through this stuff, like basically like digging through concrete. See, the tooth just has such a hard time tearing through it. Took me over an hour probably to do that much digging. So I repositioned to that side, got a couple really big hunks of frost pulled up, but you can see it was actually getting pretty rusted out. So I just shut off the power to my house entirely because I want to turn on the well pump without flooding the hole, and then I'll turn on the power out there at the pole, and then I can see where it's leaking, because I'm kind of curious. So when we turn this back on, we should get water over there in our hole. I would assume. Oh, yep, there's water. That took longer than I was expecting. And so it must have froze down a good ways. Yeah, so we definitely have problems. I'm gonna shut it back off. I've got the other bucket on, the wide one, so I should be able to get down in there pretty good. So I accidentally put this bucket on when I wanted this bucket. This bucket's narrow. See, and this one's wider. And then we have actually one more wider one, I think. But yeah, now I've got the narrow bucket on like I wanted originally. They're not very easy to change, those buckets, but oh well. I really don't want to dig too far down and end up catching that line. That would create a whole new disaster, like if it pulled apart somewhere else underground. So I need to be careful, but I also don't want to dig by hand for like 5 hours. So this stuff is hard, man, and it's hard all the way down to, this is still frozen right here. See, it's sparkly. Right here it's not. So from here to here, so actually that's maybe closer to 3 feet. Oh, the first June bug. Poor guy. I kind of messed up his day. like to get buried alive by a backhoe. Tomorrow morning I'll come back out here, dig around a little more, might take a couple more scoops out with the backhoe, dig some by hand, and then we'll install the new hydrant and we should be good. Come on, come on. That barely went. So these are the two levers that control where our boom is going to be. This one here on the left, we can move the boom side to side, or lift this arm up or lower it down. With this boom, we can pull it in like that, or we can curl the bucket by pushing it side to side. And then there's a foot pedal right here, and what that does is that'll actually extend the boom. So if I push this forward, you can see the boom's going down toward the shovel there. If I push it down, then that retracts it. I'm just doing various motions to get this thing to do what I want it to do. See, this is nice gravel. I'd like to keep the gravel in the hole. There it is. That's where it broke. Wow. Well, that makes me happier. Check it out, guys. So it would appear that the thing was already failing. I mean, this probably got broken while we're moving stuff around, but the walls on it appear to be really thin. So if you look right here, we can see this is the trench line. So the trench actually goes that way. So hopefully I didn't damage this very much down here, because this is not a plastic line coming in like I expected. I think this is actually a teed fitting. We're down within a foot of it. I can't risk tearing it out with the backhoe, so I'm just gonna dig by hand until I get down there. So there actually is a plastic line like I was expecting. However, it goes into this connection here, which goes that way. So I don't know if this is the line that goes to the house. I just scratched it here with my knife. This is a copper line. I think that's the line that feeds the house. See, oftentimes this 90 right here is just threaded right into the bottom of your shutoff, and there isn't any other fittings here. This yard hydrant was totally already bad, so like that's the wall of it. It's super ultra thin, so this was just waiting to happen, and it's not exactly a bad thing that it happened right now, because other than the frost layer, it's actually been pretty pleasant digging. I mean, it's pretty much always this wet down in the ground here, whether it be, you know, right now or in 6 months from now. So this really isn't too bad. So here's where that copper line terminates in the house. So they must have brought it all the way around, and they dug it in right here when they put in the sewer, I'm guessing. This got redone, part of it anyway. Just the line, I think, going from here to the tank. But that copper line is still original to when they built this house, I guess in the 40s. So that's kind of a long time ago. I mean, yeah, they added this on in the 40s, and they haven't changed the floor or anything, so that's how old that is. I don't know how old that yard hydrant is out there. Probably as old as the well, which is 1990. 65 psi, and there's definitely no pressure. So it's bad. So I'm just gonna thread that out of there, get the new one threaded in. So it's good to get your new fitting prepped before you take out the old one. I got the old one loose. You can see it's dripping. So we're probably gonna have some water come out as soon as we thread that thing out the rest of the way. Well, that wasn't bad at all. Now you don't want to use the gauge as the wrench. tighten it in. And you don't usually have to go very crazy tight with these. Right, there we go. In order to replace that, you have to drain out all the water that's in the expansion tank because there's no way to shut it off at the bottom. It's just the expansion tank and then the line going to the well and then the line going to the house. So I can actually shut off the house right here, but no matter what, that's always pressurized. So since I had the opportunity with it pressured down, it was a good idea to just get it done. So these yard hydrants can typically be purchased for anywhere between, I don't know, $160 and $200, right in that window. If you get a 1-inch one, meaning that the connection on the bottom would be 1 inch instead of 3/4 like this one that I bought, then I think they're a little bit more, maybe more like 180 to 220, somewhere in that range. But you can pick them up like right at Menards. They're pretty nice. Looks like the galvanized coating goes all the way to the bottom, and then they've got some sort of like glue pipe dope in the bottom there. But yeah, so actually not too terrible on the cost side there. How this works, briefly in case you didn't know, when you lift the handle, you're pulling a rod that's connected to that pipe that goes all the way down to this valve. This valve has a little gate in it, and when it pulls up, it allows the water to flow up through the body, and then when you close it off again, it all drains out this little hole right there and into the ground, and then it doesn't freeze. But if you leave a garden hose attached to it, it does freeze. So we can get rid of this whole upper section. It won't be in our way while we're trying to thread this valve. So I like to put my longer wrench on whatever I'm trying to not move, which in this case is going to be this brass fitting, this brass nipple. We're going to be twisting this way, so we'll face this wrench that way. I actually kind of hold it with my foot right here. Oh good. Looks like we were successful, but we want to have a pocket of gravel surrounding that valve so that whenever it has to drain out, it's able to drain into that substrate, because if it was all just packed clay like this, water has a lot more difficulty going through that, and the clay can just hold the water there, and if your valve doesn't drain properly, then you're going to end up having to replace it quickly. When we turn our fitting on here, we're going to be pulling in the clockwise direction as we're looking at it now. So we want to make sure that that thread tape is getting like drug, so to speak, by the fitting. So we want to wrap in the same direction that we're turning the fitting on there. We're going to go, I guess, that far, because that was the end of this roll of thread tape, but that should be enough. Container's also getting pretty near empty. Links in the description to these products or very similar products. I'll also link to the hydrant that we're going to be installing. Yeah, so the overall length of the new yard hydrant is 9 feet. 6 feet you bury, and the other 3 feet stick up out of the ground. In this case, we're just going based on how deep they put it before, because we can't really move it. But you want to support your hydrant on the bottom, typically like with a chunk of block or something. I'm guessing they put some kind of block down there, but I'm not sure. Alright, so this is what I need you to support, Simeon. Tighten this, but not put pressure on the other. This is always how it is. There's like a minimal amount of space because nobody wants to dig extra all of a sudden until I turn on the well. So yeah, we don't see any leaks here. Yep. Because this is the gravel that I saved from. It looks like there's a bunch of gravel right here actually. I don't even think we'll have to shovel more down in here because they just dumped a bunch in. that's really convenient. So I'm gonna start pushing in dirt. I'm gonna try to avoid pushing in any big clumps. I think that's enough gravel bed down there that we don't have to really add any more. This is the part where we find out if the backhoe starts again. Yay! So now I'm waiting for Simeon to get the jumper pack. Alright, so backhoe started again. Simeon's gonna support it from the top. Johan's gonna get out of the hole. And then I'm gonna start carefully scraping the dirt back in from this side. Obviously being extremely careful to not like fling it that way. And oh, it's getting really cold out. It's like getting windy and nasty, but got the uniloader out and I've just been kind of scooping the dirt, the rest of it into the hole. Did most of it with the backhoe. This thing's a little weak when it's cold out, but it does good enough. The line's pressured up to about 60 psi and it seems like we're fine, so just about done. So done moving around the rest of the dirt. You can see it's kind of hilled over the spot where the hole was. That's because the dirt's going to end up settling a lot, and eventually that'll be flat, but it might take a couple years to fully settle. It looks really pretty. Well, check it out. It even makes water. So yeah, that's terrific. When I turn that off, all that water should drain out of the pipe. Hopefully it doesn't just freeze and break. But yeah, you can totally see this thing was pretty much toast before it froze. So this was needed anyway, I just didn't know it. But it sure is handy to have access to water outside in the winter. I'll show you how the insulated box turned out too. So there's the water. Here's that insulated box that I ended up completing, and you can hear some noises. I'll show you what we got going on in here. Hey Nova, how many of those little puppies do you got now? Like 4 it looks like maybe? Where's the whiny guy? This one? It's super noisy. But yeah, Nova's having her puppies right now. So they typically have a couple, and then a couple hours later they have a couple more. But yeah, it turned out pretty nice. It's actually pretty accessible. It's got these like handles right up here. Open it up from the top. Got a thermostat on the heat lamp, so it won't get too hot in there. You do not want it to get too hot for the mama dog. But yeah, this little project caused a lot of extra work over there. Although now I know that it pretty much needed to be replaced anyway. But hope that you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you in the next one. So yeah, I think that's it.